In the mid-'80s, a mysterious figure began a one-man war on crime. He was faceless, nameless, and merciless. Known only as the Scourge of the Underworld, this vigilante struck fear into the hearts of criminals across America's cities. No costumed criminal was safe. His method was swift and final: assassination, often in broad daylight, followed by his chilling signature words: "Justice is served." But who was Scourge? Was he a lone avenger, a soldier carrying out orders? Or was he part of something far, far bigger? I'm Bill Curtis, and this is American Justice. Yeah, all right, we are back. We're taking a deep dive into the Scourge of the Underworld, his kill list from A to Z, from first to last, from beginning to end. All right, the Book of the Dead covers all the names, and we're gonna cover them too. And this video is gonna focus on the kills. It's gonna focus on the final moments for these victims. Consider it like the final 24 hours of their lives. We're gonna cover the last issue of their lives, whether short or long. We're gonna tell their stories, all right? Scourge was a serial killer, wasn't he? But these were no innocent victims, because usually they say, oh, a smile could light up a room, right? He would give the shirt off his back, but not these victims. But by the end of this video, maybe you are going to be locking your doors a little tighter. Like and subscribe. This is the Pop Culture Cosmonaut. And we're going to start with victim number 1. This is the Enforcer. The Enforcer. That's right. His real name is Charles Delasny. All right. And he's got a pretty cool look, if you ask me. He debuted in Ghost Rider 22. This is a Jack Kirby cover. And look at how the Enforcer introduces himself. "You're just another victim to me, punk. Nobody beats the Enforcer." Because, you know, he's got a Brooklyn accent. Of course he does. All right, this man, Charles Delasny, the Enforcer, you know, he has no fear talking smack to the Ghost Rider. But he would meet his fate in Iron Man 194. And in this issue, his fixer or his agent is speaking to Obadiah Stane. Obadiah, okay? And he's been hired to eliminate a criminal by the name of the Termite, all right? And it says here, sounds like a good job for the Enforcer, all right? And here he says, when he gets the call in the bottom, "Nice little contract, 10 minutes work, and I collect 50 grand. Yeah, nice." All right, and as he gets dressed, he's got a fedora and a trench coat, all right? Gotta look shady, gotta. All right, he gets approached by a homeless woman, or so it seems, and he says, "Buzz off, hag. I got nothing for you. Why you breaking my balls? Why you busting my balls over here?" Sounds like Andrew Dice Clay or something. I don't know. But anyways, this homeless person says, "But I have something for you." And then boom, smack, or spack, I should say. And then boom, there he goes. A hole blown through his back as he falls into a heap on the cold concrete. And the words are said for the first time: "Justice is served." This is the first kill of many by the Scourge of the Underworld. Did the Enforcer deserve to be the first target? Well, who really deserved it? But his name is going to come up again by the end of this video, believe me. All right? It's a damn shame. I like the Enforcer's look, man. I think he's got a good aesthetic to him. The only thing I find missing on the Enforcer is a logo. I think he needed a logo on his chest. But anyways, it's a shame that he went down like this. But the Scourge of the Underworld was far from finished. and more targets were yet to come. The Enforcer, R.I.P. to you, Mr. Delazny. But like I said, you'll hear about him again before the end of this video. But we gotta move on to the next one. Next up is the Miracle Man. Now listen, bear with me on this. I think he's a pretty lame character, but he's got a pretty funny last issue of life. So yeah, we're gonna get through it here. This Miracle Man debuted in Fantastic Four, number 3. So he's one of the oldest characters in this video, actually. And yet he met his fate in Thing number 24 on this cover featuring the Rhino. All right, so he faced the Thing the first time and the last time, pretty much. So this story begins in Thing 24 at Project Pegasus. This was a saga they did in the late 70s involving the Thing and some other heroes in the Marvel 2-in-1 series, I believe. I had that back in the day. I haven't read it in like 30 years. But anyways, the Rhino is being transported in this armored truck. And as you can see, he's under heavy guard. All right. Now, later you see the Thing buying a bus ticket, and take a look at the middle panel over the Thing's shoulder. We got an evil arched eyebrow looking at him, and you can see that is the Miracle Man. Saying here at the bottom, one for Ticonderoga, my good man. All right. You know, he just looks evil immediately. You know what you're dealing with right there. So Miracle Man's getting on a bus, a chartered bus. Same with the Thing. And look at this in the middle panel. Curse the luck. He's on the same bus as I. But he wants to get his powers back as the Miracle Man. And you see here he recalls, he's reminiscing about his days, his golden days fighting some of these great heroes. And then, you see him on the bus across the aisle from the Thing. And a bummy looking hippie dude. Keep your eye on him. And Miracle Man thinking. You see here Thing getting spoken to by this bummy dude, wanting to play a game of Trivial Pursuit. Some of y'all remember that game from back in the day. Thing is kind of not feeling this dude. I think he's kind of drunk and quite annoying, evidently. And then as he, gets in this little tiff with the dude, he catches the Miracle Man eyeing him up. Look at this quote here. Now, if I can only get the rest of these passengers to stop ogling my flesh, I'd be hunky-dory. Oh, man. He's just eyeballing the Thing. I can't get enough of this panel. The look he's giving Thing. All right. Now, later on the bus, as it goes on, it gets stopped, and the Miracle Man disembarks. He hypnotized the driver, and he calls everyone cretins. Cretins, which is a go-to insult in a lot of Marvel comics. I love it. I learned the word probably from Marvel, cretin. And then you see he uses the powers of the Miracle Man on that transport truck carrying the Rhino, which crashes, and trying to get this behemoth freed, where he says here, I have freed the Rhino. Now the Rhino was actually taking some of the guards out himself, and he's mad. He didn't want to be freed. If you see here at the bottom, where Miracle Man calling himself the Liberator, Rhino saying, "Fool, you have not freed me. You've condemned me to remain the rest of my life as a human Rhino." So he's mad. And then he goes attacking the Miracle Man here. And look at this. I did not expect this ingratitude. But the Miracle Man always has the remedy at his fingertips. So he's, a master hypnotist. And then, he ends up getting the Rhino to smash the bus with the thing still on it, reading the paper. So that bus goes tumbling down. And as you can see here, the Miracle Man, he's feeling himself. He's proud of himself, saying that no one, not even the thing, noticed him being hypnotized, thinking for sure that the thing would die in that fall. But he don't know the thing like that. Come on. And the thing even catches himself saying, "It's clobbering time." All right. So he gets all back up. He recognizes the Miracle Man. Says, "Guess that explains who's been playing with my noodle." All right. But the Miracle Man gets the Rhino to attack the thing. So here you go. It's the thing versus the Rhino. But by the end of it, you see here, everything gets calmed down here. Rhino does not want to be the Rhino. He doesn't really want to fight the thing anymore. And he doesn't want to be used by the Miracle Man. No, he does not. But Miracle Man tries to hypnotize him again. Yet, Rhino is not feeling that. So, by the end of it all, with a failed scheme, the Miracle Man is approached by that bummy man on the bus who says, "It is I who control your fate, Miracle Man." "Oh, the young bohemian. I have little time." "Wrong. You have no time." Spack. All right. Boom. Justice is served. And look at this last panel here. Miracle Man's dead. But who? Exactly. But who? Well, we know that was the Scourge of the Underworld. Now, Joshua Ayers is the name of the Miracle Man. And the Ayers family. R.I.P., I guess. But the Miracle Man's one of the older characters on this list. And I found that to be a pretty entertaining death. Moving on to a couple more here. The Hate-Monger, I'm not really sure if I want to even talk about him. Reason why is because he wasn't even a real human being. He was kind of a construct. And I don't know. I don't think that this list should really pay heed to that kind of character. So anyways, Hate-Monger, we'll move past you. And here's another victim of Scourge, technically the fourth, I guess. And this is Megatak. All right. Interesting looking design from Megatak. This is a character who debuted in the Mighty Thor issue 328. I don't know. He's a video game themed villain named Gregory Nettles. Now, this character, Megatak, falls victim to Scourge in issue 358. And on this cover, you would have no idea. It's Beta Ray Bill smashing the hell out of the Titanium Man. I always loved the Titanium Man, and I like Beta Ray Bill too. But I wouldn't have known that Scourge would have anything to do with this. So that's a pretty interesting way of getting this character, Megatak, dispatched. And while there's a lot of chaos happening in the middle of the streets, Megatak says here, just keep dreaming, bud. Megatak is back and about to hit town again. And he's about to push this older fella in the trench coat out of his way, out of my way, Gramps. And then pum. And then the spack, I'm sure. Justice is served. Well, that's it, Megatak. I don't think there's much more to say about you. Game over, but the game of death continues with the Melter, aka Bruno Horgan. All right, now the Melter is, again, one of the older characters on this list. He was around since Tales of Suspense 47, facing off against Iron Man in his all gold armor. And look at this, the mysterious melter. Melting Iron Man's arm with his chest ray. I never liked chest weapons. It seems so impractical. And here he is bursting through a wall like Kool-Aid Man with his, again, chest ray. How you aim that thing? I figure he's pretty easy to fight. Iron Man, just fly around in a circle. What's he gonna do? Spin around to try to hit you? The melter can't get you, man, unless he's got a better pivot foot than, Hakeem the Dream Olajuwon or something. Some of the best footwork in the post in NBA history. But the melter. Who else had a chest beam? I think we saw somebody earlier. It's the Enforcer fighting Ghost Rider in his debut. Maybe they grew up together. Hey, it's the Enforcer. It's the melter. Yeah, Bruno Horgan from the block. Mama Horgan, she says hello to you. All right. Anyways, that chest ray. Man. All right. So, unfortunately, the melter's life comes to an abrupt end in Avengers 263. This was actually a pretty big issue. What lurks within the cocoon? You know who that was. Spoiler alert, relates to Jean Grey, and you can see in the top right, it begins here, X Factor. But let's not get derailed. None of this points to what occurs within, where the melter is conferring with a henchman, with a goon named Keegan here. He's surveilling Avengers Mansion. He's got a scheme going. He's gonna use his melting ray to destroy the Avengers and their mansion. He's a bit out of his depth, I think. Feeling he's done getting laughed at, no one will ever laugh at the melter again, he says. Once I strap on the ray projector, he goes to his locker. The real henchman is there, dead. Keegan. And then look at this in the corner. Yes, Melter, that's the real Keegan. I've got your melting device right here, and boom, spack. An explosive bullet exits the Melter's back, and justice is served as this Scourge crushes the melting ray under his boot. One thing we haven't really discussed yet are the many disguises of Scourge. What does this point to? We shall see in some of the next few kills, but Bruno Horgan from the block, hey, sorry to see you go. Mama Horgan made a great tuna melt. That's why they call me the Melter. Didn't even get a scheme off in my last appearance. It's too bad he didn't get it off. Bruno Horgan, the Melter. Who's next? Well, this time it's Titania, the member of the Grapplers, a female wrestling crew. Titania's real name is Davida DeVito. Wow, that's a mouthful. And Titania should not be confused with the other Titania, who is in the Masters of Evil, who was on the arm of Crusher Creel, the absorbing man. This is a different Titania. By the way, what a name, Titania. Now, she first appeared in Marvel 2-in-1, featuring The Thing and Deathlock, an underrated character, I think. And this was during the Project Pegasus saga. Davida DeVito, Titania, met her end in The Thing 33, so she encountered The Thing in her first appearance and in her last. And look at this, the Grapplers, gangway for the new Grapplers. All these chicks just piling on The Thing, Ben Grimm. Well, in this issue, it starts out with Titania in the ring against Battle Axe. Look at the size of this woman. Damn. And in this fight, with all the hair pulling, all the stops being pulled, in the end, Battle Axe ends up winning it with the 1, 2, 3 and gets her arm raised. And Titania's a sore loser. Pearl Harbor's her. You know, if you remember, Gorilla Monsoon used to always say that. Just goes at her from behind. And then the rest of the grapplers just grab her and it's like, oh, you can't be doing that. You know. Back in the locker room, Titania's being accosted by the other wrestlers. And, what's interesting is, at this point, she's going straight. She's not even in criminal activity. So this is an odd target for Scourge, I find. She was just doing her work. She was just working. And, anyway, she goes to the back to take, leave me alone. I'm hitting the showers. Outside the showers is Gold Digger, one of the new grapplers. Asked for a bar of soap, and what she gets is a whole lot more than that. And look at this. Your crimes have gone unpunished far too long, Titania. And then, of course, inevitably, justice is served. Now this is heard. The Thing and Battle Axe come running. And Gold Digger's running out saying, oh, it was a man who did it. I saw a man. And then, well then. The other grapplers just hear that and they just attack the Thing. Titania's dead. She's dead. And they're going after the Thing here. Oh, man. That is just, that's a damn shame. So Titania's death, that one I feel weird about for a few reasons. She wasn't up to any criminal activity, and Gold Digger being Scourge, I'm pretty sure, looks like a woman to me. So at this point, Scourge has probably been a dude, but maybe not. So the disguises are getting more and more varied, and the identity issue getting more and more muddled. But Titania, in a loser leaves town match, maybe, out for the count. Next up on the kill list is the Basilisk, whose real name is Basil Elks. Alright, well anyways, Basilisk debuted in Marvel Team Up, number 16, featuring Spider-Man and Captain Marvel. Terrifying power set. He's got these eye beams. He can also turn you into stone with those eye beams. So he's like a bald Medusa dude, and he can fly too. But he dies in Fantastic Four 289, and in this, he breaks through the wall in the basement of the Baxter building, encountering this maintenance worker who he instantly vaporizes with his eye beams. I'm telling you, man, look at this. Looks like Emil in RoboCop. If you remember him, he turned into toxic waste. Damn. Basilisk climbs the shaft, exits at a certain floor, and this silhouette is waiting for him as he celebrates what he thinks is his freedom. And he starts to think of his revenge on the Thing and Spider-Man. He hears a sound creeping up behind him, the click, and then pum, spack, and a crash through the window. Justice is served. Hammer and Anvil. That's Leroy Jackson and Johnny Anvil, two convicts, escaped convicts, who have a hilarious origin story that I covered in a short video before. Now these dudes debuted in Hulk, Incredible Hulk 182. They fought the Hulk, man. That's just dumb. But like I said, check out their origin. But the end of their story came in Marvel Fanfare 29. And in this issue, the Hulk is somehow lured to the desert by this shaman-looking dude, who managed to calm down the savage beast, calling him friend, and gets him all smoked out. But also, if you see here, he's basically lured the Hulk here to lure his real targets, creeping up behind the Hulk. It's Hammer and Anvil, with another dumb idea to take on the Hulk. Leave him alone, man. Okay, well, these guys try to get the jump on the Hulk, but that's never gonna last forever now, is it? And as these dudes are getting ready for round 2, Spack, it's the Shaman dude. Does Scourge ever run out of disguises? But here we see it's Hammer that gets shot in the face. But because he shares that bond with Johnny Anvil, Johnny Anvil gradually fades away. And you see here, he realizes here that they were joined at the hip, proverbially speaking. But as Hammer dies, Anvil fades away, and the Hulk, finding the disguise of Scourge, wonders what happened to his friend. The Fly. Real name is Richard Deacon, and that's not Jeff Goldblum from the classic film. All right. Now, again, the Fly. Come on, man. I think they even called him the Human Fly. Why not Superfly? If you're gonna be a supervillain, why not call yourself Superfly like Ron O'Neal? All right. What about Superfly Jimmy Snuka off the top rope? I mean, those are better inspirations than just the Fly or the Human Fly, who debuted in Amazing Spider-Man Annual number 10. Going after J. Jonah Jameson. Yet the end of the Fly came in Spider-Man 276 during Spider-Man's feud with the Hobgoblin. And in this issue, you see at this psychiatric center, these orderly dudes are gonna gawk at a freak. And that ends up being the Human Fly, who has flown the coop, so to speak, and he's looking for vengeance. All right, now he finds Spider-Man and tries to go after him, but as he ends up somehow behind some dumpsters, again, the disguises of the Scourge once again, unsurprisingly, Spack right in the back of the Human Fly. Justice is served, and then he says, I'd better get moving if I don't want to run into Spider-Man. How would Scourge have known that the Human Fly would end up right there near that trash heap? I guess because he's a human fly. He always ends up near feces. Next is the Deadly Death Adder, whose real name is Roland Burroughs, who sounds like a literary giant with a Pulitzer Prize on his shelf. He debuted in Marvel 2-in-1 64 against The Thing and Stingray, a character I always had a soft spot for. And in this, he debuts on the very last page with the Serpent Squad. That's Black Mamba, Anaconda, Sidewinder, and himself. Years later, Death Adder participated in the murder of MODOK. And maybe karma caught up to him just a few issues later in Captain America 318. And in this, he is flying a craft, an aircraft with an unconscious Princess Python in the back. Now this craft ends up crashing in the South Bronx, right? And amongst the wreckage, the Death Adder climbs out. with Princess Pathon in his arms, looking heroic. And yet, in the panel here, it says it is not heroism that prompts this known felon to save the princess from the mangled aircraft. It's the fact that she's worth $10,000 ransom. So he wants to return back and get that money. All right, but now how is he going to do that? He has no way. So he ends up on the street here. He flags down a taxi. He actually rips a passenger out of the cab and threatens the driver. The driver's trying to make small talk with Death Adder. Creepily, I don't know what he's thinking, taking a taxi cab. And this cabbie's got some stories, I'm sure. And look what he's saying here. However, as he's boring Death Adder to death, pum, spack. Justice is served, Death Adder. You have to wonder about these disguises of the Scourge of the Underworld. He must have been driving for hours, somehow waiting for Death Adder to end up in the back of his cab. Faster than a speeding bullet, it's the Blue Streak. And we just saw him on the cover of Captain America 318, but he debuted in Captain America 217, where he was actually a new recruit of S.H.I.E.L.D., who ended up being a turncoat in his disco suit and his mini unicycles on his feet. Not very fearsome whatsoever. But he's back in 318 and he's on the cover here. It starts at the bar with no name, where the Blue Streak in his civilian gear meets up with Gary Gilbert, Firebrand, and is being persuaded to join his Federation of Costume Criminals to protect each other. But Blue Streak is simply not interested. And on his way out of there, coincidentally, Captain America, as Steve Rogers in his civilian gear himself, needs to use the washroom, as he says, use the facilities. He ends up encountering who he recognizes as the Blue Streak coming out of the washroom himself, who doesn't recognize Cap. They end up in a fight. Cap takes care of him. However, bam, you see here, Blue Streak still's got his gear, shoots something off and destroys his own car. But he goes back in and gets his new gear. Pretty nice costume. I liked his up. This is one of the best glow ups or upgrades I think we've seen in comics. He does now realize he's up against Captain America, and he says, I wish I would have gotten a better look at his mug. By the way, the Blue Streak's name is Don Thomas. I didn't know that when I was a kid. Don Thomas. So Don Thomas up against Steve Rogers. Look at this action. Cap ends up wrecking one of Blue Streak's skates, but Blue Streak still is on his way out, making a quick escape. Look at the action here in these panels. Now, as Captain America pursues on his motorbike, look at these winding mountain roads in this dramatic pursuit. Now, Blue Streak decides to throw down some caltrops, some ninja gear, I love it, on the ground. And look what Cap does, slides his shield in front of his bike to clear the caltrops out the way. And it works. But he seems to think that Blue Streak has fallen over the edge of this cliff, and in his altruistic, heroic mind, decides to scale down the cliff to try to find the Blue Streak and save him. He even sees his helmet lying on a branch, but it's all a ruse. It's all trickery, chicanery, if you will. And the Blue Streak knows that he outfoxed Captain America. Now what? He wants to steal Cap's bike, but unfortunately he can't do it. He doesn't have the key. Alright, so he says, looks like I'm gonna have to skate back to civilization unless, as this truck approaches, and he's thankful he's gonna hitchhike. However, of course, pum, back. Justice is served. Blue streak. Scourge's next target ended up being the Wraith. This character's name is Brian DeWolf, brother of Gene DeWolf, who was a New York police captain that had been killed by the Sin Eater. And he had debuted in Marvel Team Up 48 against Spider-Man and Iron Man. But he ended his life in Amazing Spider-Man 2/78. You can see on this cover, justice is served, except that's what looks like an unmasked hobgoblin on the front. And you can see this must be who we think it is, with the rubber mask on the table there, loading up his gat. Now, the Wraith is Brian DeWolf, and you can see here he's plotting revenge against the cops who he feels are responsible for the death of his sister. And you can even see what he's saying here at the top right. And now the Wraith, a hero, is going to get back some of what was taken from him, and I'm going to get it in blood. Right. So basically, in this issue, Scourge is out to get the Hobgoblin, or who he thinks is the Hobgoblin, which is Flash Thompson, who has been arrested and in a holding cell. Now the Wraith is plotting his attack on the police, and he's coming up on the back, and you can see here, now is the time. Now they'll all feel the power of the Wraith. And as he deals with this cop on the outside with his powers, coming out of the police station is a different cop. And he says here, "I've heard enough to know that my trip here hasn't been wasted after all. And who are you? I am the Scourge. Learn my name and die." He'd been after Hobgoblin, but the Wraith ended up on the other end of his gun instead. Justice is served. Finally, we are on to the most infamous issue in the Scourge of the Underworld saga. And this is Captain America 319. And on the cover, it says here, if Cap can't stop Scourge, every supervillain on this cover will die. Now, in this issue, it starts with Blacklash, formerly known as Whiplash, getting all shook, getting arrested by Cap, and the cops come. And in this, you can see Blacklash is saying here, I don't give a hang about my rep anymore. I'll be dead soon anyway. He's thinking he's already a dead man due to the Scourge killing spree. He was friends with the Melter. And he says here, when he offed my old buddy the Melter, that's when I knew not even I, was safe. And then you see later on at the bar with no name. All right. In this bar, there's Gary Gilbert, also known as Firebrand, meeting with other criminals to discuss the situation at hand. Gary Gilbert is trying to gather super criminals together to protect each other and share intel on Scourge of the Underworld. Now you can see in this panel as he's getting ready to gather this meeting, they've got security equipment, retina prints and so on. They are taking all precautions. Finally, Saturday night comes, and these costume supervillains start showing up. You see the Mirage, Letha, Hellraiser, and some near the front, chatting it up. As others arrive, they go through the security restrictions. And you can see here Firebrand in his suit saying, "I'm a bit disappointed, Jake. I was expecting 50, and so far there's less than 20 people here." Now, next you see roll call taken, and these are all the participants in this meeting, led by Firebrand again. And as they discuss amongst each other what to do, they're getting riled up. Okay, Firebrand, he's a firebrand. He's got the gift of gab. You see here, getting them all on the same page. And look at the bottom, the suggestions they have. Let's put up $1 million reward. Challenge him to a duel. Let's all go into hiding. Let's ask the Avengers to protect us. Let's kill all superheroes. Then we're sure to get the one doing this to us. How about calling in S.H.I.E.L.D.? Wow, that's a brainstorm if I ever heard one. Yeah, so as they're discussing their options, the bartender here says, "May I make a suggestion? You could all eat lead and die," leading to probably the most infamous shot of the Scourge saga. Dead, all 18 of them. Justice is served. These are the 18 who lost their lives at the Bar with No Name Massacre. Desmond Charn, the Mirage. Ramon De Rico, El Jaguar. Denton Phelps, Hellraiser. Gary Buser, Shell Shock. Achille Debaco, Birdman. André Gérard, Cyclone. Anthony Davis, The Ringer. Clifford Michaels, Turner D. Century. The Grappler, name unknown. Esteban Caracas, the Cheetah. Denise Berenger, Vamp. Commander Kraken, real name unknown. Helen Feliciano, Letha. Maxwell Plum, Steeplejack. Eric Geldon, Mindwave. Dominic Tyrone, The Rapier. Howard Mitchell, The Hijacker. Gary Gilbert, Firebrand. The Scourge of the Underworld saga reaches something of its climax in Captain America 320 after the events of 319. It starts with the Water Wizard in battle with Cap. But this was all a plan by the Water Wizard just to get Captain America's attention because he is scared. He is nervous, but Captain America is not fully convinced. He drives Cap all the way to the Bar with No Name in his yellow Volkswagen Beetle and Cap on his bike. He brings Captain America inside where they're confronted with 18 rotting bodies, to the surprise of Cap. And Water Wizard explains the situation. He was supposed to be at the meeting the night before, but his car tire got a flat. So he ended up getting there 3 hours late to a pile of dead bodies. He had nothing to do with the massacre, and of course, he brought Cap in because he is scared. He knows he would have been one of them. So Cap has been on the trail for Scourge for weeks, and he's really gotten nowhere. We get a glimpse into Scourge in this issue, in a van here, with his disguises, getting a call from the enigmatic Domino. Wonder why we never heard more about Domino. And you see on the screen here, he's saying Craven is being moved from one jail to another, and Scourge wanted to kill Craven, and it says here in West Coast Avengers 3, he tried but he failed. Look at some of the other targets that Scourge has been given. The Puppet Master in Omaha. Solar already died somewhere else, but he was on the list. And Diamondback of the Serpent Society is in a hospital outside of Akron, Ohio, which is near to where Scourge is. The present location dressed like a woman here. Which Scourge is this? Okay, and if you see here, going through the video database, Diamondback is closest. Diamondback in the previous issue had been working with Captain America trying to find Scourge, and she ended up getting shot by a farmer who was scared. So she's laid up in a hospital, and Scourge decides to get rid of that disguise. Now in the hospital, Diamondback is visited by the Cobra, and Cobra takes her out of the hospital to escape. They're scared that Scourge is after them, and guess what? As they get into their craft, they hear shots. Pum, pum, pum. Not really realizing how close they came. Now, on the news, there's a report that there was a survivor at the Bar with No Name Massacre. One survivor, the Mirage, also known as Desmond Charn. And Scourge here, watching TV, can't believe it. So in a rage, he knows he's got to track him down and finish the job. Now, it's all a plan by Captain America, who has borrowed the Mirage costume from the police, laying a trap. And you see, actually, outside the police station, this looks to be Domino getting intel on what's going on that he will feed to Scourge. You gotta wonder more about Domino. Who was he? Now, you see here, laid up in a log cabin somewhere, or a chalet or whatnot, Captain America in the Mirage costume is actually getting some artwork done for his part-time job drawing comic books at this time. Waiting, and then eventually shots ring out. But what looks to be Mirage on the bed is not, it's a dummy. And Captain America has got his gear with him and his shield, and he goes after Scourge, who makes his escape. And look at the thought bubbles of Scourge, what he says here. I must get away. Although he and I are on the same side, my methods are so much more effective than his. He opposes me. Scourge is surprised. And the Scourge tries to get away, busting shots at Cap. He gets no closer to getting rid of him. And Cap whips his shield, buckles the knees of Scourge, who actually still has Cap dead to rights, and you can see right in the crosshairs. And Cap even says that, look, he thought he had me dead to rights, but he didn't pull the trigger. And as he questions Scourge, he realizes that Scourge considers himself a hero. Heroes don't kill other heroes, he says. That's right. I've probably done every bit as much as you to fight crime and make this world a better place. The only difference between us is when I go after a menace to society, they don't cop a plea and go back on the streets in 3 months to a year. The problems I solve stay solved. And as Cap removes his mask, he realizes this is nobody he knows. He doesn't know this man. But this Scourge gets into his origin, and look at what he says. My father was a famous Hollywood director. He specialized in westerns back when they were in fashion. So he learned a lot about morality, as he says here. I learned about real justice, frontier justice from watching them. But he had an older brother who couldn't see past the blazing guns. He couldn't see that they were just a means to an end. And he became a gunman on the wrong side of the law and called himself the Enforcer, the very first victim. And look at what happens next. When Dad found out something inside him broke, I hated my brother for that. I hated the shame he brought upon the family. So I decided to do something about it. Using the tricks I picked up from the guys in the makeup department, I put on a disguise, then went out looking for my brother. I found him finally and made him stop disgracing himself. And then he continues on, because you know that wasn't the end. And look at this next panel. The Miracle Man, the Melter, Death Adder, Titania, the Basilisk, the Fly. I've lost track of all those to whom I dispense justice. All right. And in this time, a shot rings out right through the chest of Scourge, and you hear the cry from the forest. Justice is served. The mystery no closer to being solved. Who is this? Who is Scourge? As this man goes out with a bang. And look at the last panel here. Who could it have been? An accomplice of his, afraid that Scourge would finger him? That private detective he mentioned? Or is there more than one Scourge? In America, 351, a few years later after the Scourge saga was thought to be over, seems to pick up in a small way. Just after Johnny Walker and Steve Rogers had it out and discovered the return of the Red Skull, Johnny Walker decides to make a public address in Washington, D.C., where he formally steps down as Captain America and hands the shield back to Steve Rogers, when suddenly shots ring out. And Johnny Walker, with Battlestar, his partner, behind him, falls to the ground, bleeding. And Steve Rogers is on the case, and he goes after the gunman dressed as a watchdog. The watchdogs had murdered Johnny Walker's parents in revenge for him putting them out of commission. The security guard catches some bullets here. This watchdog takes a hostage and then spat a slug to the back of the brain. And who is that? Justice is served, watchdog. And look at that right there. And look at what Captain America is thinking. That second gunman, he didn't say what I thought he said, did he? Explosive bullets, that gun, the slogan he shouted, all earmarks of the Scourge of the Underworld, but I thought he was dead. And what does this mean? What does this mean? But the death of a hero, Johnny Walker, R.I.P., right? Not really. We know that he comes back just a few issues later in Captain America 354 in this classic cover as the U.S. agent. So it was all a psy-op, I guess you can say. It was a way to get Johnny Walker as Cap out of the public view, but I don't think this is fooling the public too much either. So was that Scourge? Who was that? But you know what? In the end, the story of the Scourge of the Underworld remains one of the most chilling and haunting chapters in Marvel's history. This was a vigilante who saw himself as the judge, jury, and executioner, and leaving a trail of bodies where he thought justice had failed. To many, he was a hero, but to most, he was a monster. No different than the criminals he gunned down. And what we're left with is not just the mystery of who Scourge was, but what he represented. Was he the embodiment of justice or its failure? And perhaps the most difficult question of them all, if one man could do this, how many others might be waiting in the shadows? And were there others? I'm Bill Curtis for the Pop Culture Cosmonaut. Good night and Godspeed.